Welcome back to the RPTC Research Proposal Masterclass. Today, in Part 3, we're tackling the heart of your proposal. Chapter 2. In Part 2, we connected our research problem to the gap, aim, objectives, and research questions. But now we have a problem. You cannot simply claim that a research gap exists. You need literature to prove it. And this is exactly where many postgraduate researchers get stuck. They read 20 or 30 articles and then write a series of summaries. That may show that you've been reading, but it doesn't show synthesis. So what is Chapter 2 actually supposed to accomplish? Your literature review should answer 4 major questions. What does existing scholarship tell us? Where do researchers agree? Where do they disagree? And most importantly, what remains unresolved that creates room for your study? That means Chapter 2 isn't simply a collection of information, it's an argument. Remember that last question. Why does this research still need to be done? Your literature review should gradually answer it. Let's return to the study we've been building. If our research asks how remote working influences productivity and employee well-being, what should our literature review discuss? Not everything ever written about remote working. We need literature that helps us understand our actual research problem. Notice something important. I'm organizing the literature around ideas and themes, not around authors. Theme 1, remote working as a workplace model. Theme 2, productivity. Theme 3, well-being. And Theme 4, organizational support. This structure focuses on the collective body of knowledge. Let me show you the difference between a summary and a synthesis. This is the difference that can transform Chapter 2. Let's look at a weak version first. What did we learn from that? 4 researchers did 4 studies. That's basically it. Now let's synthesize that same information into a stronger argument. Research presents mixed evidence regarding the consequences of remote working. Several studies associate flexibility with productivity. However, other research identifies challenges like isolation and blurred boundaries. Taken together, these findings suggest that outcomes depend on organizational conditions. That's synthesis. We're asking, what does the body of literature collectively tell us? Here's a practical framework you can use. Start with the claim, bring together evidence, compare findings, critique where appropriate, interpret the meaning, and link it back to your problem. Not every paragraph has to mechanically follow 6 steps, but your chapter should repeatedly demonstrate this kind of thinking. Now, let's look at common supervisor feedback. If you've ever received this correction, your supervisor probably isn't asking for more references. They're asking you to make the references speak to each other. So don't automatically add another 10 studies. First, look at the studies you already have. Which agree? Which disagree? Are there patterns? What can you conclude collectively? Another common comment is that the review lacks critical engagement. This comment scares researchers because they think critical means attacking every author. It doesn't. Critical engagement means evaluating the evidence. Were the studies conducted in different contexts? Did they use different methodologies? What limitations affect the conclusions? Now watch how Chapter 2 reconnects with what we built earlier. Suppose our literature shows some studies associate remote work with productivity, while others identify well-being challenges. If our South African context remains underexplored, we aren't simply saying there's a gap. We've demonstrated why further investigation is justified. The gap is the logical conclusion. Now open your own literature review. I want you to perform a quick test. Find one page. Count how many paragraphs begin by introducing another author. Then ask yourself a few questions. Am I organizing around researchers or ideas? Can I identify where scholars agree or disagree? And can the reader see how this leads toward my research gap? If you're missing these, you can strengthen it. This is where many researchers approach us for help. Sometimes you already have 40 pages. The answer isn't necessarily starting again. It's the structure and synthesis that matters. If you want to work through it yourself, use the framework I've shown you. But if you need an expert assessment to see where your chain is breaking, RPTC is here to help. Message us, assess to identify the problem, or proceed if you're ready for professional support. Send your document, degree level and deadline, and we'll take it from there. Now that we've aligned the research elements and synthesized the literature, there's still one more piece missing from Chapter 2 that supervisors always look for. Where is your theoretical or conceptual framework? Choosing a theory just because another dissertation used it isn't enough. In Part 4, I'll show you what a framework actually does. I'll show you how to select one that fits and how to connect it back to your research questions. Remember, we're building one connected study. See you in Part 4. Thank you for joining this part of the masterclass. Keep refining your literature review, and I'll see you in the next lesson to discuss frameworks.